Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask Ben W, the series where I get to record a video answering one question from the time it takes me to walk from my parked car to my office in Denver Public Schools. And today's question comes from Angela, I think it's Maez, but maybe it's Mays. And she is asking about digital citizenship. She actually asked a series of questions, but I'm going to roll them into one. Her questions are around what do you emphasize in teaching digital citizenship, and how do you avoid sort of imposing fear upon students when you are monitoring social media and sort of the more social ways of learning that we might encourage students to do. So along with this, I'm going to give my take on it, which is very concrete and is just an example of how I taught digital citizenship. The reason why I'm starting off with that is because I know that there's a lot of really good digital citizenship resources out there. Common Sense Media is sort of the most popular and perhaps most important player in the space because everything that they do is free. But the way in which I came at it was actually to start by letting my students write out the rules for their classroom blogging, and later their usage of Google Docs that were open to the world, and later doing things like microblogging and things like that. But I had them come up with a series of rules, and even a series beyond that of consequences for breaking those rules or guidelines, and we wrote them collaboratively, and I had them all take part in this process, and we voted on which ones we really wanted to use in our classroom, and then we all signed it. And it was that compact across the 4 classes that I was teaching at the time that allowed us to sort of move beyond the entry points to digital citizenship, because we were able to talk about, all right, so what happens if you do post something derogatory about one of your classmates? What happens when you post a comment that is not constructive criticism, but is just, making fun of what they have written or what they are thinking? And we constructed it in a way where not only did they write them, but then they felt some ownership of it. And so I think actually, to answer the question of emphasis, the emphasis is on ownership. How did they own their digital footprint? How do they own their, their own identity online? And that, to me, is what digital citizenship is all about, is everyone has an identity. Everyone has an identity that spans both on and offline. And it requires us teaching students and teaching one another and modeling for one another what that identity can look like and what that identity can be. Because if we are really just saying your identity is only offline, then I think we're probably doing our kids a disservice. And if we're only showing them the terrible things that can happen when your online identity goes terribly awry, then I think that's probably a disservice as well. So the ownership component is really, really important to me. And then to sort of think about, I would say, how do you monitor? How do you monitor without making it about fear? I think the biggest thing in really trying to monitor social media is that it's not possible to do as a single person. It is only possible when everybody is supporting one another in doing the right thing. And so if you have created a community of learners in your classroom in the offline world, you can also do the same thing where you're creating a community of learners in the online world. And that means that they can call one another on sort of violating the expectations that you have made for them. They can call one another when, you know, there is something that is going on in the community that is not going along with the norms that you have set up or that they have signed their names to. And that happened a couple of times in my classroom. There were two specific examples where one student, a girl who made a comment that, you know, I think probably could have been taken as something that was just kind of a joke, but was something that really was an insulting comment about the girl's writing that she was commenting on. And we talked about it as an entire group, and we talked about it in the community. Does this violate one of the things, one of the rules that we had set up? And it did. And because we had already talked about it and they had already decided what the consequences were, then that is what happened. It was not a big deal, because the girl understood what it was that she had done and then was okay with the consequence because she had helped to write the consequences. The other component that came up was there was a boy who broke up with a girl in the class, and they were 7th and 8th graders, so, you know, it was not a long-term relationship. But then he started posting on his blog messages about her, but doing it and making the posts private, and he would only give his friends the password to those posts. And that was something that actually required a lot more conversation directly with the student, and talked about the intent, you know, why would you do this? And thinking about the fact that this was posted online and this is a part of their identity. This is a part of the way in which they are becoming citizens online. And that took a little bit more concerted effort to have that conversation with the boy who was doing that. But at the end of the day, he took them down. He apologized to the girl that was affected, and we moved on. And because we had those moments, we were a stronger community. And I think that's probably where I'd leave this question is, if you are constructing digital citizenship in a way that leaves your community stronger in the long run, then you are doing it well. If you are creating your structure for digital citizenship out of fear, it's not going to work out, and you're not going to have a strong community of learners. So that's my answer. If you want to ask me a question, just post on Twitter with the hashtag AskBenW, or comment on any one of these videos, and I will answer it for you. Thank you so much for your question, Angela. I'm looking forward to talking to you soon. Have a great day.